חלון לים, דירה הכי יפה בעיר, עוד מחכה למשהו שאת ליבך יאיר. ובינתיים בדידות מקיר אל קיר, ויום אחד את מחליטה שם לעזוב, רחוק לנסוע כדי להרגיש את הלב קרוב. מגיע לך כבר לאהוב כמה חברים שצחקו לך, איך שוב ושוב הם מסבירים לך, את מחפשת דבר שלא קיים. מאחורי הגב אומרים את משוגעת, אבל בפנים אין שום ספק, את כבר יודעת בוודאי ישנו שם. זה לא בשמיים, לא בסוף העולם, כמה טוב עוד לפנייך, רק אל תעזבי ידיים, אל תעזבי ידיים. נכון שבלילות את מתבלבלת, סוגרת את הלב ושוב נופלת, והייאוש הולך ומתגבר. תדעי ששום דמעה שלך לא נאבדת, כל תפילה שלך פותחת איזו דלת. נשמה רוצה להשתחרר, בוודאי ישנו שם. זה לא בשמיים, לא בסוף העולם, כמה טוב עוד לפנייך, רק אל תעזבי ידיים, אל תעזבי ידיים. בוודאי ישנו שם. זה לא בשמיים, לא בסוף העולם, כמה טוב עוד לפנייך, רק אל תעזבי ידיים, אל תעזבי ידיים. רק מול האור אפשר לראות אותיות שנכתבו לך בדמעות, הן מספרות לך, הן מספרות, יש לך מקום. אל תעזבי ידיים, אל תעזבי ידיים. בוודאי ישנו שם. זה לא בשמיים, לא בסוף העולם, כמה טוב עוד לפנייך, רק אל תעזבי ידיים, אל תעזבי ידיים.
Welcome everybody to I think our fifth webinar. I'm Nikki Raz and I work for Hold Real Estate, and I'm very honored this evening to be hosting Jonathan Davis and Anata Han as our special guest panelists. Just to frame what we're going to cover in this webinar, we've had massive interest from our clients overseas and many people within Israel wanting to know more about living and learning in Israel. So we thought it would be a wonderful idea to host Jonathan from the Reichman University, formerly known as IDC Herzliya, to find out more about the programs, a little bit more about the campus. And then after we've spoken to Jonathan, we're going to be speaking to Anat and Julian about some of the development and real estate opportunities in the area. So without further ado, we're going to play a short promo video just giving us a little bit of a sense of how wonderful Reichman is.
Live in Israel, study in English. Studying, probably one of life's hardest decisions. Where, what, how? This is why we are here, to try and lead you to your next step towards academic education. Ready for the ride? Let us introduce you to Reichman University, a beautiful campus located in the heart of Israel, just minutes away from Tel Aviv. This charmed place that was once an old Israeli Air Force base is now home to more than 8,000 students from 90 countries. Yes, you heard it right, 90 countries. From the United States to China, from Australia to Sweden. Reichman University is the most international school in Israel. We live in a global world, and Reichman University is the place to meet it all. Reichman University serves students that are getting not only a prestigious college degree, but also the core values of freedom, responsibility, networking, entrepreneurship, innovation, and hands-on experience. All with the guidance of world-renowned professors, heart-giving faculty members, and dedicated staff who make it possible for everyone to succeed. What should I study at Reichman University? With multiple tracks and simple admission process, you will find what you are looking for. Each degree is unique, and at Reichman University, you can even study courses from other fields that interest you. The possibilities are endless, and they are all yours. Are you an outstanding student? Yeah. Maybe you will be accepted to one of our many prestigious honors programs. Become an ambassador of Israel at the Argov program. Be an app developer as part of the Zell program or the MeLab Innovation Center. Become part of the successful online community, making the case for Israel's image in the world through the ACT-IL program. Or take part in Model United Nations, debate, entrepreneurship, psychology, and many more extracurricular activities. We're almost done, but we didn't forget the life outside the campus. Reichman University gives every student a place to explore life beyond school. Social and cultural activities, mountain biking, Reichman University Idol, food festival, radio shows, internship opportunities, and over 120 exchange programs around the world are offered to you. How to be a part of it? If you made your decision, this is now the easy part. Welcome to Reichman University. Welcome to your next life journey. I promise you, even I will be there for you. Live in Israel. Study in English. That's our motto.
Welcome, Jonathan. Jonathan is the Vice President of External Relations at Reichman University, which is Israel's first and only private and non-profit university. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Great to be here.
Good to have you. And I think many people who have signed up for the webinar and are watching the webinar or will watch the recording are thinking, should they study in Israel, and can it be done in English? And they're wanting to know more about your campus. So tell us what makes Reichman unique and sets it apart from the other institutions in Israel and around the world.
But I think what makes us unique is the fact that, first of all, that we're private and nonprofit. We believe in free enterprise. We believe in capitalism, and we believe in less government control. So basically, we don't take instructions from the Israeli government. We're approved by the Council for Higher Education, and we're all fine with that. But we basically have our own philosophy, and if you come to study in the international school, the students who come there receive personal attention, personal counseling, career guidance, and even though they may be far away from home sometimes, we make them feel very much at home at the university.
Tell us a bit more about the demographic of the university. How many international students are there on campus? What's the culture like?
We have a total of 8,000 students on the campus. 30% of them are international students, and they come from basically all over the world. So of these 30%, you have about 25% Americans, about 25% Europeans. We even have 125 South African students on campus. Lovely
Good
youngsters.
representation from South Africa on your campus. That's great.
Yes, I have nostalgia for Cape Town.
You spent some time in South Africa.
Yep, I spent 4 years in Cape Town, 4 very, very happy years in Cape Town at the Western Province Zionist Council.
And tell us a little bit, as we diverting a little bit, tell us a bit about your background, because we had a discussion the other day and it was super interesting. How did you land up doing what you're doing today?
Well, actually, I was raised in California, and I was a student at Columbia University in New York, and I came on a 1-year program to a university in Israel. I had a roommate who was a paratrooper, and I decided not to go back to Columbia to finish my degree. Instead, I finished my degree at the Hebrew University. I then joined the Israeli army, and the rest was basically history. I don't want to tell you how many years ago that was.
We're not going to ask. We're not going to ask. We spoke a little bit the other day when we met about the values of Reichman University. And I know it's quite a young university in the sense that it was established, I think we said, in 1994. What are the core values that underpin everything that happens on campus?
I think that one of the values would be interdisciplinary values, that whatever we teach, we want you to hit the ground running. So if you're going to be studying government or diplomacy, we're going to also teach you microeconomics and macroeconomics so that you become a more whole person. We're also very, very entrepreneurial. So no matter what you study at Reichman University, we are going to inject entrepreneurial skills into your DNA and bloodstream. The other thing is that we believe in Zionist values, and the humanistic Zionist values of Herzl, Jabotinsky, Ben Gurion, Menachem Begin. We are a university which sings the national anthem with pride, and we're a university which is proud to call itself Zionist. We give preferential treatment to people who served in combat units in the IDF. And on the other hand, we have this international school because we believe we should embrace world Jewry and other people who may wish to come and have the opportunity to study for an academic degree taught in the English language, where the person's taken by the hand from beginning to end.
It definitely, I was on campus just a couple of days ago, and there's definitely this very international vibe. You hear a whole lot of different languages being spoken, from Hebrew to French to English, so it definitely has that vibe, and it looks like a lot of fun. Tell us a little bit about innovation and entrepreneurship, because those are things that students in today's world are very focused on. I think parents are very focused on it. I guess Israel being the startup nation, it's definitely a huge focus as a country. Tell us a bit about the focus of the programs that focus on that at Reichman.
So first of all, from a physical geographic point of view, we're located smack dab in the middle of a hub, which is called the Israeli Silicon Valley, but the nickname would be Silicon Valley, okay, because we're surrounded basically by hundreds upon hundreds of high-tech companies. 400 of our students are actually doing internships in these high-tech companies. We're very, very big on human-computer interaction, machine learning, computer science. We have a Me Lab based on the lab of MIT. We're very much into robotics, three-dimensional printing, artificial intelligence. And I've actually found that many of our great students who did very, very well on their matric in the sciences have blossomed at our university. But the philosophy basically is that, well, actually, the proof is in the proof is actually there that our students have made exits for the value of about $8 billion since the inception of the university, and we have
Wow.
18 unicorns. And the university is actually ranked 6th in the world in entrepreneurship for all universities in Israel, which are in the world, which are 15,000 and below. And this is a survey done by Pitch, so it's not something which we concocted. It's an international survey, which I'm happy to show off with. But
Those are good points to show off with, I would say. Those are very impressive.
yeah, and I think that I think that there's also a very, very fine relationship between the professors and the students. For example, we have one dining room. Okay, there's no faculty club. So even though we believe in capitalism, and even though we're entrepreneurs, and even though we believe in small government and all those things, we're socialists when it comes to eating. Okay, the professors eat together with the students, and
you break bread together.
Exactly, they eat hummus and schnitzel together. Okay,
I love hummus.
so basically, what happens at the end of the day is we treat our students as partners, and we actually assess our professors not only on their academic excellence, but also on the way they treat the students, because that's very important for us. It's very important for us to develop this situation. We don't want some professor to say, well, this university would have been a great place if there were no students here, and I could only, deal with my research. Because I've heard that in some places, which will remain nameless, that basically the students are a nuisance. What the heck are they doing here? We should only be doing research. And at our university, the students are really treated with respect. And
you
I think
spoke
that's
about a survey, I think, when we met, a student happiness survey.
Nikki, you're very smart. Actually, you remember so many things. It's because you're young, actually. So basically,
interesting. It was very interesting. I never knew those kind of, that sort of thing existed across the board around the world. So it was really
there is a survey taken by the 70 plus minus universities and colleges in Israel of who has the greatest student satisfaction, and we came out #1 in the country. So I was very happy about that. And it's a survey that deals with the relations between yourself and the faculty, yourself and the administration, even how your food tastes. What are the facilities at your university? Do you have a lot of sports activities? Do you have activities beyond the classroom, such as debate, entrepreneurial club, things like this? And the student satisfaction is very high, actually, very high.
Well, the hummus must be really good as well. And I think you even do boerewors braais for the South African students.
Yes, we actually have a braai for the South African students once a year with boerewors. I will not give away the place that we buy the boerewors in Ra'anana,
Please keep
because
that a secret for now.
I can't give away free ads. So I want competition from different producers of boerewors in Ra'anana to give us some free boerewors for our South African students. But seriously speaking, our South African students, most of them live in the dormitories. The dormitories have one-room suites with no roommates, with their own bathroom and with their own kitchenette. Yes, for some South African students, it's the first time they've done laundry ever. And they now have to order food from some food service that drops off the food.
It's a good learning experience all around.
And it makes them more independent. And I see these students develop, and they're great, because the students who come from South Africa are well-mannered, they're disciplined, they were raised nicely, and they went to great schools in South Africa. And
I'm sure many of the South African students or parents who listen to this will be super proud of that compliment. So thank you. Tell us about the rumors of a medical school opening at the university.
Yes, we have decided, in addition to all of the other things that we teach, to open a brand new medical school in the country, because because of our Zionist values, we always try to do things for the benefit of the state of Israel. And too many Israelis study medicine overseas because there aren't enough places in the country at universities for the study of medicine. So we're opening up the Dina Rekanati School of Medicine. We've hired a new dean, the former minister, the former director of the Ministry of Health, Arnon Afek. And we have the backing of the Sheba Hospital and of Rabin Hospital and of the Maccabi Health Fund. And we're ready to roll in 24, 25. We're opening the medical school. So it's going to be very interesting.
And is that going to be open to English speaking students initially, or will it be strictly Israelis to start?
Initially, it's going to start in Hebrew, but it's going to move into English as well. Someone who has a basic knowledge of Hebrew could also get in there because Professor Afek is very user-friendly to Anglos. He's the former head of the English-speaking section of the medical school at Tel Aviv University, which just closed down. Actually, the universities in Israel are closing down their English-speaking sections. But the person who comes to study medicine at our university is going to have to be an Israeli citizen.
Okay.
They will not be able to study here as tourists in our medical school, because the idea is to provide a future cadre of medical doctors for the state of Israel and not for Europe or the United States or even La Jolla.
Great. Well, it sounds super exciting, and I'm sure it's going to be wonderful, and we wish you much hatzlacha with that. The big question that many people have, and certainly many parents that come from countries with weaker currencies, is Reichman affordable if they want to send their kids to live and learn in Israel? Tell us a little bit about the kind of support you offer students, both on the emotional side and I guess the financial side, and what the opportunities are for students around the world.
Well, the easiest thing is to be a very, very bright student, okay, and have amazing grades. And then you can get a merit scholarship. By the way, there are a number of South African students on that merit scholarship who did extremely well in the matric. Okay, and basically, if you get the merit scholarship, you immediately have a 50% discount of tuition.
That's big. Work hard.
That's pretty big. Number two, we have socioeconomically driven scholarships for people in need. Now, you mentioned currencies. There are people from Argentina, from Venezuela, from South Africa, and other countries where the currency is finito. So basically, what we do is we provide scholarships. We provide bursaries for South African students. I actually have a special scholarship bursary fund for South African students. Many former South Africans around the world, by the way, who feel a tremendous amount of loyalty to their brethren. Okay, they would like to see us assist youngsters from South Africa, for example, who can't afford to study here. And depending on the income, depending on the number of homes people own or cars they drive, we take a look at their profile. We will provide.
It's a case to case. You deal with that on a case.
We look at each case. We look at each case on an individual basis, and I've raised quite a bit of money actually from expats
around the world,
from South African expats who live in the United States or live in Israel, for example, or live in the United Kingdom, who feel an affinity for the community that raised them.
Yeah.
And they would like to know that the next generation of South Africans that wants to achieve a very good education could achieve an education like that. And each candidate that would come, let's say, from South Africa to us, we would sit down with that person and we would take a look at their budget, and we would explain to them what the various aspects would be of coming out of this in one piece.
If I can just come in here just to clarify something. I mean, a lot of the people on the webinar are not necessarily South Africans. I think you did mention, but this applies to anybody around the world.
This applies. I specifically mentioned the South African bursaries because of the currency rates, but students from Europe and from the United States and Canada and other places and Latin America anyone who is socioeconomically deprived, whose parents make a very low income, and they live in areas which are of lower income, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or something, God forbid, happened to them and someone went mechula or something like this. Okay, we will take a look individually at each of those individuals from around the world, and we will provide them with scholarships. So I have Ukrainian students and Russian students who need scholarships, but sometimes I have students from the United States who need scholarships.
Jonathan, can you just touch on the Massa grant, because I know that also is quite a nice sort of basket available too.
So Massa, if you come to Israel as a tourist and you're Jewish, very broadly defined, okay, you can automatically receive a Massa scholarship. In countries like South Africa, the Massa scholarship is going to be much higher than it would be in the United States or in the United Kingdom. In Argentina, it would be much higher. So in the more economically deprived countries, Massa gives per capita more funds.
For their first year, correct?
For their first year. And sometimes I recommend, by the way, that the student seriously considers changing their status to that of an Ole, because the Ministry of Absorption gives those students a very, very nice package in that second year. A very nice package in that second year. And if you get that package together with what I can give you, most of your tuition is going to be covered. And unfortunately, sometimes people from very socioeconomically deprived places, they work as waiters. Sometimes they work as
I think most students, it's part of student life, working as a waiter and getting a job. So I think most of
the babysitters in Ra'anana come from Reichman University.
Well, that's exactly why we're doing this webinar, because we
have to provide babysitting services for all of those Anglos in Ra'anana.
Absolutely. I'm going to end off with one final question. What would your message be to parents and students that are on the fence, that are feeling anxious about it? How can they reach out to you? Is there someone at the university they can have a discussion with to find out more information about their specific case?
For starters, anyone out there who's interested in being in contact with me, send me an email. I receive about 150 emails a day. I answer all of them. Okay. Oh, I delete the ones which are, phishing and that kind of stuff. But I do address every email. So my email address is Jonathan, JONATHAND as in Davis, at RUNI.AC.IL. I'll repeat that. Jonathan D at RUNI.AC.IL. You send me an email. You tell me what you're interested in knowing about. Sometimes I will have you get advice from our lawyer. I have a lawyer who works for us on campus who deals with visas and all kinds of things like that. If you want to know about dormitories, I can deal with that. If you want to know about what to study at Reichman University, I can put you in contact with an academic advisor. All of the people that I give you are people who speak English with a mother tongue. And I've got people on my staff who speak all the languages: French, Spanish, Portuguese, English with a South African accent, English with a UK accent, English with an American accent, English with an Aussie accent. If you really want Afrikaans, I have one person who speaks Afrikaans. They went to high school in Paarl, okay? The person's father was a wine barrel maker, which is called I forget the name in English.
Can't help me, Jonathan, I'm afraid.
Well, it sounds like
my wife just yelled from the other room. It's a cooper. A person who makes wine barrels is a cooper.
Thank you.
And when you come from the Stellenbosch area or Paarl or outside of Cape Town, you have to know those words. They're very important words in that region.
Thank you, Jonathan. I think that you've definitely given us a lot of food for thought in terms of the university and what it's got to offer, and certainly showing us your warmth and your open door policy to students and parents around the world. And my hope is that many, many, many parents and students watch this recording and they do reach out to you, because I think you've got a wonderful, wonderful institution. So thank you for joining us tonight.
Nikki, thank you very much, and thank you for being in Israel. And I want to wish the other individuals who are going to speak tonight, who are very impressive, the best of luck. They have a lot to offer, a lot to market. They're marketing some very good things in the land of Israel. Great place to be. I would never change it for any other place. I love this place dearly. So, Laila Tov, good evening to all of you
Laila
in the
Tov,
world,
Jonathan. Thank you
wherever
so
you happen
much.
to come from.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, that was really interesting, and definitely I have 2 teenage girls who will be looking to study soon, and IDC seems like the ideal place. So it was wonderful to have Jonathan. I'm very excited to move on to the next segment of our webinar, which is talking about the areas surrounding the campus, which have become very popular areas for English-speaking olim and investors overseas. And I want to introduce Julian Nathan, who's the Managing Director of Hold Real Estate. Hi, Julian.
How are you doing, Nikki?
Let's talk a little bit about Hold, number one, the idea of a new development, what it means for investors, because many people who are watching this webinar may not have plans to live in Israel, but certainly if their children are studying here, they may want to invest in an apartment so that there's accommodation for their kids to stay in, or to rent to other students and other young professionals in the area. So tell us a little bit more about
Great, yeah. So I'll just kick off, Nikki, just to kick off a little bit about Hold, as you mentioned, what we do. So Hold is a real estate company that really, our niche has been in getting foreign investors invested in property in Israel. And it's investment right across Israel. Wherever we find good investment opportunities, that's where we put our investors into those areas. The services that we provide start really from finding the right property, then providing the commercial services, so opening up the bank accounts in local Israeli banks. What I think we've really found quite a niche in being able to do that with power of attorney. So people don't actually have to come to Israel to do, all these processes, which people find, very convenient. So once again, opening up the bank accounts, taking out mortgages. So foreigners living overseas can typically get up to 50% of the purchase price funded through a mortgage. And that's once 50% has been paid. So we take care of that. We've also got engineers and operational teams on the ground. So what they're doing is they're actually following through once the apartment's been purchased. There's a whole lot of selections and choices that have to be made along the way, kitchens, tiles. So we kind of provide that buffer between the language and the culture. So we were able to do that remotely as well. We have an architect on the team, interior decorator, that'll help with those needs as well, to make sure that if the apartments at least look good in the end. And then
I think that's the feedback we get so often when our foreign clients come to the point of choosing their finishes, and they come here and there's someone to collect them from the airport and take them to the supplier, and it's really takes the stress and the hassle away from a very exciting journey into purchasing a place in Israel. So it's great to have a solid team on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also we have engineers that do pre-delivery inspections. So they're going to the apartments, they check that whatever's meant to be delivered has been delivered. So we do all those pre-delivery inspections. And a big part of our business as well, Nikki, as you know, is that we do property management. So we manage over 180 properties at the moment for foreign investors. And what that means is it means that we've got the call center, we've got the apps where people can, tenants, we find the right tenants, and we're very strict on who we put into the apartments. So we want people that can look after the apartment firstly, and most importantly, actually, they can pay the rent.
Absolutely.
So we do that process. And then with the call center to fix any problems, to manage the property for investors. So that's essentially what the services that Hold do provide. Just to go back also, Nikki, just a little bit about property in Israel at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, give us a little bit of an update.
A little bit of an update. It's a very interesting time for property in Israel. last year saw incredible growth in property prices in Israel because of interest rates, because of the need to actually make affordable housing for Israeli citizens. Because of the growth that we've had, the government has implemented certain policies to try and calm down the market. It's been effective in some areas, not so effective in other areas. But what has happened this year is that less units have been sold in Israel. That's definitely happened, and it's substantially less. A combination of a couple of things, I think mainly because of interest rates going where they are. So that's happened this year. Less mortgages have been taken out this year as well, substantially less. And once again, it's mainly because of the interest rates that have gone up the way that they have. So, property prices, we haven't seen them coming down to the extent that I think people expected. And that's really driven by certain factors that aren't going away. And I've just looked at some stats. I think the most important factor affecting this is, and I quote from the Times of Israel, is that there's massive demand for housing in Israel. And that is outpacing the supply of land that is getting released to developers to develop. So you've got this demand for property and you've got a lack of supply. If you look at the stats there, they anticipate by the year 2040 that the population of Israel will have 12.5 million people living here. At the moment, we've got just under 1.5 million.
Wow.
We've got this growing population. We've got more demand for property than there is supply. So although this year we have seen, the markets calming, there was a plan in 2017 where the government at the time, they wanted to double the number of apartments that were going to be built by the year 2040. Now that's failed for a number of reasons. COVID was one of the reasons. But basically, we've now got a shortage of 190,000 units that need to be built over and above the units that need to be built every year just to keep up with this demand. So we've got a massive lack of supply. Now, because of the increase in interest rates, what some developers are doing and what they have done is they've stopped developing at the moment. They're waiting for interest rates to come down. So once again, this is just going to exacerbate, it's going to just make that problem of, the supply problem just greater into the future. So, the market, as I mentioned, has quietened down over the last couple of months. But for investors that are looking and have got a long-term plan of investing in property in Israel, our view is don't wait. We don't believe that the market's going to come off as much as, people are expecting. And there's this massive demand and a lack of supply. So long-term, we're very bullish and buoyant about the property market.
And that brings me to my next point, especially in areas of high demand, such as Herzliya and Ra'anana, where as Aliyah increases, people are coming to these areas. And for investors to own property in these areas, I guess, is generally a win-win, even in terms of a market that's sort of a little bit more settled than it was last year. So we are working with Kedar and Eshkol Properties on 2 developments, and we've got Anatia with us. So let's launch into what's available for people.
So I'm just going to just share my screen. I think, what we did is we were looking at, I made Aliyah 6.5 years ago, and I joined an established business, Whole Real Estate. That's a 2nd generation business. So there's a very deep knowledge of property here in Israel. And, since I made Aliyah 6.5 years ago, I'm getting more and more calls from people around the world that are buying property in Israel because their children are coming to Israel now. So they see their children coming here, settling here in the future, studying here, going to the army. So the parents are wanting to buy property. But then we do get the call to say, my kids are coming. They're going to be at the IDC at Reichman University. and how can I help? How can we help out with accommodation?
Right. And I guess a big part of that is a community, and because of the demographics of cities like Ra'anana with so many Anglo speakers and Olim from around the world, there is a sense of community for students to come, even if they're not staying in Ra'anana, but to come visit Ra'anana on a Shabbat or be with friends and family. So
absolutely, I think it's a very important part of settling into any new country, is to have a really strong base and a strong community around you, because you are moving away from your family and a community. And the center of Israel around Tel Aviv, Herzliya and Ra'anana has really done that very, very well. So what we did was, we, as you all know, we had Reichman University earlier, an incredible campus, incredible university. So what we did was, because we see this demand coming around the area, we wanted to look for accommodation we want to look for investments that were both affordable and near to the university. So we've got one which we'll cover a little bit more detail, and I'll go into it, which is in Ra'anana. It's 2.5 kilometers away from the university. It's a 6.5 minute drive to the university. So it's probably about 10-15 minutes on a bus. The other one is in Herzliya. It's 1 kilometer away from the university. It's also near a mall. It's near a park, and it's near the train. So very, very well, very conveniently placed.
and the highway, right? The highway turn off as well.
Right on the highway as well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just talk through the one in Ra'anana. I suppose we'll just let Anat talk through it. Maybe at the end I'll cover a little bit. So what we've done is we've looked for 2 properties, one kilometer away from the university. The other one's about 2.5 kilometers away from the university. And both very, very good opportunities where we've gone into the urban renewal areas. So areas where there's old apartments that are located in very, very good areas. And what the developers do is they do the Tama projects that we've all heard of, where they bash the buildings down and they rebuild them from scratch. So the big advantage to buying in these properties is that you put down a 20% deposit now, and then you do linear payments over the period. So you don't need to come up with all the money now. We try and leave as much of the purchase price to the end. We finance that with a mortgage. And then once we find accommodation, once we find tenants, the tenants then cover most of the, if not all of that mortgage repayment. So basically 50% of the purchase price is required and 20% is required in order to secure it. Thanks, Nikki.
So I'd love to just welcome Anat. Welcome. I know you got on the plane yesterday, so thank you for joining us tonight. Really, really appreciate it, and it's great to have you on. Tell us more about Kedar as a company, and some of the developments that you have in Ra'anana at the moment.
Okay, so I'm really happy to be with you, and apologize in advance of my English skills, sorry. Kedar is a well-established company that has been operating for more than 16 years. We build mainly in Ra'anana, Kfar Saba, Herzliya. We are both the developer and the contractor, which is very healthy and safe combination. So we can help with anything even after getting the keys. We build with the green construction method. We use insulated blocks that reduce noises between the apartments and also between the floors. We add a special layers of insulation under the flooring, so we can reduce noises from the upper floor. The windows are always with the double glazing. Our plumbing is kind of warm and quiet. And there are many others elements that really increase the quality of the life in the apartments. All our projects are having a bank guarantee, so there is no risk all the payments will be directly to the escalating bank, and nothing will be to Kedar. So if something happens to us, the money is secured in the bank.
That's a very important point, because I think that's a big source of concern for lots of people who don't live in Israel and are worried that they can't watch, what's going on here if they live overseas. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and we offered you really 2 or 3 nice projects. One of them is in Kiryat Sharet, in Geula Street. Very interesting project which is going to contain 6 buildings of 10 floors, with the interior space, and I believe that Jonathan will tell you much more about it. There are especially here small apartments, 3 rooms apartments,
And that's two bedrooms.
Yeah,
Okay.
living room plus 2 bedrooms, which is very unique, because mostly in Ra'anana you can find 4 or 5 rooms, and you can hardly find the smaller apartments.
Yeah, it's also much higher rental, and I think there are many more young couples and young professionals, or even retirees, that are looking for smaller units. They don't want very big.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So there is a very nice project in Geula, and another project in the center in Brenner Street. There we can offer you a bigger apartments of 5 rooms, which means living room plus 4 rooms.
Yeah.
And also one project in the new neighborhood.
Right. I think Julian's going to speak more to the deal of each of these projects. Julian, do you want to take us back to the project in Herzliya and then just run through some of
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. I think, like anything in property, the location is first and foremost, the most importantly, and we've covered, the location. It's an incredible location.
Yeah.
Near Tel Aviv, near the university, and a very sought after area. I mean, Herzliya has become a very sought after area. The project that we're marketing at the moment, they have actually broken ground. So they have started the building process, and it's 27 months away. So it's, Q3 2025 is when the project will be delivered. And once again, prices we can discuss afterwards. The payment terms we can discuss afterwards, but from an investment point of view, the students living at Reichman University need to stay in the area. They want to stay in the area, so the rental, the yields, the returns are a little bit above average. So we have that. We make sure that we're going to make sure that the students are going to go in there, that the rent is going to be paid by the parents, guaranteed by the parents. So that's why we found this project. That's the one in Herzliya. The one in Ra'anana, I mean, I live in Ra'anana. It's in an incredible location. Kiryat Sharet's an older area of Ra'anana, and what's there at the moment in this block are a whole lot of old buildings that are going to be demolished. And then, as Anat said, 6 buildings built in this area. What's so clever about these Tama projects is that if you drive past these old buildings that, people that own them sometimes can't afford to maintain them. But what happens is they get moved out for the period of the building, they get their rent paid for them, and then these tenants move back into a brand new apartment and it doesn't cost them anything. So it really adds a lot of value to the current residents. And then the developer will then build additional apartments, where they make their money. But from a location point of view, as I mentioned, it's probably about a 15-minute bus ride to the university, and it's in between 2 really, really nice new areas of Ra'anana, Leva Park and Neve Zemer. So very, very well located. And once again, this particular project has got a lot of 2-bedroom units. So that's 3-room, 2 bedrooms. Now, we were chatting about it earlier. There isn't a lot of 2-bedroom units available in the whole of Ra'anana. So for young couples, for older parents of people living in Ra'anana that want to be near their children, these just aren't available. So really great value and great demand for these size apartments. This particular project we haven't broken ground yet. That'll be in about a month's time, and then delivery will be 3 years thereafter. I'd also just like to emphasize something that Anat said with the bank guarantees. I mean, I think I should have actually started off with that. But in any of the projects that we as a company introduce our investors to, the banks guarantee the money. So I think that's a very good and a good point, and thank you for bringing it up, Anat. It's very valuable. So 2 incredible locations, 2 really, really good opportunities for people that are looking to either have their children that are going to Reichman University, but I think for us, it's a very good investment opportunity for, children are going to be out of these universities in 3 or 4 years' time, but we're still going to be able to put tenants in and get those good rental returns. And very importantly, in Israel, the capital appreciation. With the population growing from 9.3 million to 12.5 by 2040, property prices, we believe, is going to be a very good place to invest your money.
Absolutely, and I think this project is so great. When we met with Anat, she kind of explained how just within the design, outside of the high quality finishes, she mentioned that the lobby is double volume, so you really get that feeling of living in an upmarket building in the heart of Ra'anana, overlooking a beautiful park. I mean, there's just so many beautiful places to walk around there. I often walk past this area on my weekly walks, so it really is a wonderful project. And I think it's and I thank you for coming on, and we just wish you and your team Herzliya for the upcoming sales of these apartments. We usually get involved at this pre-sale phase, specifically for foreign investors. So people who are listening to this webinar who are interested in any one of these projects, or we have some others in Ra'anana as well, can be in touch with us, and we would obviously provide a lot more information on a one-on-one basis. Julian, is there anything else you want to add, Anat?
No, thank you, Anat, for joining us, and Nikki, thank you for arranging and for hosting us.
Absolutely, and thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. And people who didn't have the opportunity to join us will be able to watch a recording. It will be emailed out in the next couple of days. And we would encourage anyone who is thinking about living and learning in Israel to watch the recording, forward it onto friends. And certainly, I'm sure Jonathan from Reichman will be waiting to hear from you. And we at Holt will be waiting to hear from you if you are ready to purchase your dream home in Israel. So thank you for joining us this evening, and Laila Tov.
Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Where is home? Is it the place where we're born? Is it where we see ourselves retiring? For Jews around the world, Israel, the Holy Land, will always be the place we belong. Let us find your perfect home. Because we realize that purchasing property is just the beginning of the journey, and everything that comes afterwards can be a little overwhelming. Our team will hold your hand throughout the process. Legal services, opening bank accounts, organizing mortgages, project management, and post-sales management of the property, including finding tenants and managing your apartment. You can trust that with over 20 years experience and backed by the biggest development companies in Israel, our team is focused exclusively on representing the unique needs of our buyers. Anything is possible, and we will make your dream a reality. Talk to us about finding and securing your future property in Israel.